Okay, welcome to a Tuesday night live stream here in Denver. We're going to be talking about Vocoflex. This is a plugin I've shown in the past during the beta phase, and it is now officially out. And so I picked up my copy of it, and we're going to see exactly what made it into the final and how it's working. This is a tool that's really used for vocal manipulation, and I was pretty impressed with it during the beta test and have used it in a number of situations, and we're going to see, I don't know if I'm going to do much real time through it tonight, but I've got one of these tracks I've been working on of mine for a while, and we're going to see how it works with some of the harmony parts and layering and changing the vocal around a little bit. So it looks pretty much like we had it during the beta. The essential interface is the same, and I think that that's certainly something that I was hoping wouldn't change too much from the beta to the final version. There are a few things that I really like that they've added since the last version that I was using. One of them is in the preset area where they have a number of different voices. And this is maybe a great place to start to get some ideas for what's possible with this. You'll certainly see, some of the voices are leaning certain ways, like J-pop, C-pop, Japanese soprano, etc. I mean, this is a company from Asia, so you're going to see that influence, and a lot of users probably using it in that way. But that's not the only way that it's for use. I mean, this works with English and other languages as well, because what they're doing with this is more changing. They're taking the input and analyzing the voice and then making changes based on the input. So a lot of the original elements are still there, which is kind of cool. But let's see, we'll solo out for a second, or we'll do some of these voices together. But turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Right there. Turn around. Yeah, we'll do that amount. Okay, so, and I don't know if we can resize the view of this. I haven't found a place to make it any bigger. That's one thing. That's a small thing, but certainly something that I like when people are using or designing plugins, that they include a way to change the overall size. This one just doesn't have that as far as I can tell. Can't drag it. There's no other options for making it bigger or smaller unless I'm totally missing them. That's okay. Let's just go down the list of some of these presets for a moment. And hi, Plastidon. How you doing? Thanks for joining. Here's the airy female ballad preset.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
So that's with it on. Let's turn it back off for a second. Turn around. So you can still hear a lot of the elements of my voice there. As you move this around with just one thing loaded, it doesn't do... It's really designed to be moved around when you have multiple things. And we'll talk about some of the features that they've added for multiple things. I'm adding the airy Japanese soprano. Turn
around to see.
And they're saying that it may be in the low range. We could, if we wanted to, pitch shift this up an octave.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
I mean, that sounds pretty darn good considering it's my voice originally. So now that I got two, you can see the interplay here. I'm going to go over to the other one.
Turn turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
So it's almost like a web of voice options that we have here and how they interplay with each other. Let's throw in one that is clearly not just another, high voice. Let's do smooth, mellow baritone, right? And there we can change the name of those. I don't know yet about moving them. I wonder. Well, let's play for a second and just put it right on it.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
And yes, Plastidon, this is the Dreamtonics Vocoflex, which was just released. So the three of these now interplay, and I believe if this is still like it was during the beta, one of the most interesting things for me was the shadow effect. It's a little harder to see. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit with the bottom part of the screen. But you can see as I move this around, it can cast a shadow. If I'm on one side of this, it casts a shadow in the other direction. And that shadow actually removes some of the characteristics of the other voice from this one. So the shadow can change it, proximity can change it. And so you can really come up with some interesting voice combinations and have it morph throughout a performance, which I think is kind of cool. And let's see for a second automation that's available here. So yeah, the cursor X and the cursor Y, that means we can write automation for this as it goes. So let me put this into touch mode for a moment.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
And of course, if I go back and play that again, you'll see the motion.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
Man, that one voice in the upper range. Let me undo that recording. I don't need automation for this right now.
Turn around.
That the red voice here, which is let's see, the smooth, mellow baritone, up an octave, or yeah, that one has like a certain richness to it, which I really like.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around.
But then that ability to morph between them in real time, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I don't know if the shape of these makes any difference whatsoever. I need to read up on the manual a little bit more, but I don't think it does. None of my experience has shown that. And so you're looking at just three individual voices and the place that they look. So One of the other things that we have here, and let's go into the settings for a moment, is the waypoints. And so you can do waypoints now between these. And I'll show you how to make a waypoint, but you can actually create a keyboard assignment or a MIDI assignment and use that to go between them. So what's a waypoint? A waypoint allows us, and it's this button that's down here in the bottom right-hand corner. We can add a waypoint at the cursor position. That's this right here. And then you can see we can assign or add the keyboard or the MIDI control from that. We can move it around. So let's add another waypoint over here. And let's do one more down there, right? So we have 3 waypoints. Again, controllable by MIDI or by a typing keyboard. I don't know if I have... I mean, we have all of Logic's key commands, but... Okay, so it's assigned to 1. Assigned to 2. I don't know if that's going to... Yeah, it does it when this is in focus. So let's push play.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
I wonder, with MIDI as a choice, we could probably set up a MIDI effects chain to control those as well, which is kind of cool. That should be maybe a future video. We can also do, we can reroute them here. So we're just changing the order by clicking the reroute button. So 1, 2, 3. They don't actually, as far as I can tell at this point, you can't have them move in between, like on a pathway between them. But still, being able to really easily select between them, I think is super cool. Automating this, what they're calling the cursor, is super useful. And so I think that you can use the waypoints, you can just drag it, you can automate it. I think that's pretty intense and cool how you can do it. Okay, so let's look at the next part of this then, which is creating a new voice timbre from scratch. And we've looked at this before, but I don't think there's any significant differences. You can randomly go change the hue, and that does change like the bass timbre. You can also, use a color hex code if you want to get a very specific one that you know of. They're all repeatable, meaning if you type in the exact hex, it's going to be the exact timbre each time. Cool. But we can move this around between what they're calling a masculine and feminine tone, and everything in between. So I think that's interesting to be able to create these.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
And then you have to actually, once you do that, you have to hit apply, and it'll create a new one of these on the board here. That's kind of cool. The other thing we can do, which is perhaps one of the more controversial things on Vocoflex, is we can import a voice timbre from an audio file. So you can load up an audio file with a voice, and it will do its best to match that voice. One of the videos I made previously, I did a duet with my mom, who passed away, 46 years ago. And I have like an old cassette, and I found not a new cassette, but I found some more cassettes with her. I'm going to be doing more with that in the future. Because I just got a cassette player that I can actually play some of those in and record them, of her talking. and using that in interesting ways in my music. So I think that there are some possibilities. This is one of those things where you have to actually kind of like register more with Dreamtonics when using this, because each version of Vocoflex, the output is tied to individual users, and that's embedded in the final product. So essentially, if you use a voice that you don't have permission to use, which is technically everybody's but yourself, right? Or in my case with like my mom, I think that that's probably an area where we're okay and probably not going to cause any issues. But say you use like a famous singer's voice and use it in this this plugin, then they're going to be able to track it back to you, having been the one to use it, and that's going to cause an issue. And so there's an agreement you sign with that and everything to make it clear that you understand and won't do it. I mean, is that where we're at with these type of tools, where we have to be able to track and understand them? I think that that's a big deal in many ways, because AI and other tools that mimic people can be used for good or for evil, right? And so you got to be careful. But you can mess with it. It's one of those things where I can think of a workflow, right, where I bring in a song into Logic, and like a popular song, and we use the stem extractor and pull that voice away from the mix, dump it into Vocoflex, and then we see how well it does. Now, I can't do that on a live stream or on YouTube or anywhere, except for my own personal use. And even then I've, agreed not to. But as long as I don't use it anywhere past my own ears, I don't know that's not breaking the code. So you have to be careful with that. You can't just use it wherever you want. But you could, and this is the thing that I'm interested in, and part of this, let's switch this out to Synth V, right? And let's load up the Synthesizer V plugin, the instrument. So this whole engine, this is the other tool from Dreamtonics where you can, program anything you want and it'll sing it with their voices. Well, now they're selling these as a bundle. And so I think that the intent is that you can do this, but you create a vocal in here, have it take your voice print in Vocoflex, and then it's just a much better version of you singing, right? Does that make sense? It's a much better version. Maybe it has a bigger range, maybe has a better intonation, maybe sings faster or whatever. And so that actually is a way to use your own voice to do things that you couldn't do. And that's 100% okay, because you own your own voice. Which is interesting, because I do think that there are some legal things happening right now. I know ChatGPT used a voice for its engine that sounded an awful lot like a celebrity. And they say it wasn't, but it sounded a lot like a celebrity, and they're being sued for it. So who's to say that two people can't have a very similar sounding voice? There's, billion people on the planet, and, many more that have ever lived that have recordings of their voices. And so if two people sound identical, shouldn't you be able to use the other voice? And some people can change their voice to make it sound like other people. So where's the line there? What kind of things can you get away with if it truly does sound like your voice, or your voice is the recording, even if it sounds like a celebrity's voice, right? We've seen celebrity lookalikes and people with names that are the same. This is like a real interesting area. But I feel like two people who have similar voices the one who's more famous shouldn't have more rights to the voice than the one who's not as famous, if that makes sense. Anyway. Okay, so let's take this. Let's actually try to follow this first section through. I'm going to change it into more of a female sounding voice. And we're going to do harmonies with it.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around.
And let's actually flatten that take. There's like some pitch warbles at the beginning. Let's actually see if we can't lock that pitch down just a hair tighter. And then it becomes a question of, do we put Vocoflex first in the chain, after the other processing? You know, there's some other questions that I think we're going to have to sort out as we use a tool like this. And one that my instincts say put it earlier in the chain rather than later in the chain. But I'm going to be probably adjusting that on each of the chains, if that makes sense. It's like, which one makes the most sense? You know, it's hard to say. So let's... I don't want to make it too perfect. But we are going to tighten it down just a little bit. If I had synthesizer V sing this, it wouldn't have been out of tune. Just lighten that down a little bit.
What you're looking
What?
What you're looking for, perhaps it's me.
Okay, so that's a little bit better. Let's listen to this with the next part.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
This is going to be a lot of noodling around, I can tell. There's just some interesting things about being able to craft the vocal. And I don't know if it's like perfect in any way, shape, or form, but I like the ability to tweak.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me.
Cool. Then comes a question in the chat that I was about to talk about next from JMO112. Can you put on a synth or instrument? Would love to hear the sound design potential. And yes, that's actually something that I was messing around right before starting the stream. And the simple answer is you can put it on anything that's an audio signal. Right, so we have a synth here. I'm just going to use the default retro synth patch for a second. And we'll put on the Vocoflex here. I'm going to turn on real-time mode just to give me a little bit less latency. A little bit better. Right? So once I put on a voice, you won't have polyphony. It's just a monophonic thing. Edge of the range. That was interesting. So you can, and you come up with voice-like end results. And so that's, I mean, we can put in here, I'm just going to put in like 5 different random things, right? Where's that? There's a husky one that says husky emotional alto. So since it's an instrument track, let's go ahead and put on the modulator. And we're going to do learn plugin parameter. Let's see if I can put on a second one and get the vertical too. Ugh, I wonder how hard that's going to be. No, I got the same one. So cursor X. I want cursor Y, but it's not going to let me do it easily. What is the way to do that, I wonder? Okay. I'll have to figure that out later. It's giving me easily the cursor X. Because it has a synth input, you can almost make it do like cool voices. Let's use that second modulator for a second. On the cutoff frequency and the resonance I'll do on a separate one. So now we're going to have another modulator, learn, plugin parameter, resonance frequency. But let's have them do sample and hold, which is more randomized. Cutoff frequency. Let's go a little bit lower. Let's change the rates of those to like 16th notes. But smooth them out so that they go smoother. It's almost like a whispering thing that happens. So 3 modulators, 1 synthesizer, and Vocoflex. And you can come up with some pretty cool things. I want to be able to get the Y control also here, but I don't. Right off the top of my head, I don't want to get into sorting that out for a few minutes. Oof. Let's see how we are. I want to hear those voices on the chorus section for a minute.
And so I look up to the sky where we belong, above the moon, inside the sun.
Yeah, I don't really like that voice.
And so I look up to the sky where we belong, above the moon.
And I was talking about before or after all the effects. I'm going to put at the end for a second.
And so I look up to the sky where we belong, above the moon, inside the sun. And so I look up to the sky
there's like a little bit of weird timing thing happening.
And so I seek the answers. Promise me.
See the stolen life, the life not given me. Don't you turn away and come to say you need the breath you offer me to find my way.
Are you real or a waking dream? Feels so real to me, but can it really be?
Interesting. It's going to take some time to find voices that work well together, I think. And if you're bringing them into a song that's, mostly already sorted out, then it may be the wrong time to do that. Let's pitch those or turn those down for a second and hear the beginning of this in the old way.
Turn around to see what you're looking for. Perhaps it's me. Can you find the way?
So that part is kind of written with a certain voice already in mind. I think if I was going to use this more, it would be on a new song, and I would use some of those voices with the voice in mind, and write it in the range for the voice and, what it sounds like for the voice. I don't think this necessarily makes the production portion easier, except in the sense that I now have, a million voices that I could use. But it still takes time and effort to get it right. And you have to pay attention to the phrasing and the voicings and the ranges that they're in. All of those things now, maybe you have to think more outside of whatever voice you've been currently working with. So I think that in some ways it's going to be a challenging exercise in growth rather than something that's just easy and slap it on and be done. Every once in a while, I think we wish, oh man, it'd be great if we had a tool that just did everything for us, right? I mean, hopefully you don't think that as musicians or engineers or producers. I hope you never think, I wish this was all easier, because music isn't about easy. It's about finding something that's meaningful. And I think sometimes people get under the impression that if they just get another tool that they're going to have some magic bullet to be making a living or songs that people want to hear or something, when in fact the only way to get there is to get there by yourself on your own journey. And that may involve a lot of time practicing or learning music theory or learning every song that's ever been made and finding what's really good in there. I mean, there's different pathways and things, but I don't think music should be one of those things that has an easy button, I don't think that music production should be ever considered something that just anybody can do. Now, a lot of people are trying, more people maybe now than ever, but I don't think that the quality is always great. My own music has ways to go, when I produce other people's music and mix other people's things, I think there's always that moment when you're like, dang, they're so good. I just recorded a bluegrass band over the weekend for a project. We just did they wrote a song as a part of this nonprofit thing where they write songs for kids. And the kids, often kids who are really sick, write stories, and then they pass these stories to bands, and the bands write a song about the story. And so we were just in the green room of a venue here in Denver, And the whole band was like sitting on a couch. We put up a couple microphones in key places and like an overall microphone and recorded them sing the song. And I was just like blown away. They were so good. And obviously had spent, decades refining the craft of music making. And just to capture that in that moment was magical. I feel like in my own music, the music I mostly do on YouTube so that, I don't run into copyright issues and things. It's like I'm always trying to find the vein of what I really want from it. And I think all of us always have room to improve and get better and do better. And that's one of the reasons why I have this channel in the first place, is to help people learn how to use Logic better and these tools. But Vocoflex, I think, is an interesting tool because it brings access to me with more voices. Instead of having to like find a voice that sounds a certain way, I can now use one voice and make it sound like 1,000 voices, right? And so that shouldn't necessarily mean it's easier. It means that now I've got more options. I've got to be more careful. And I actually have to spend more time getting to know additional voices and what they sound like and how they work. And is it possible to get the nuance? Is it possible to make them blend? What happens if they sing outside the range? Do they get really funny sounding? It's like, what is the breaking point on these voices? There's like so many things about that. Anyway, I'm on a tangent. What are your thoughts? There's a couple people watching. There's a few people watching. Any thoughts from the audience? Who's out there watching right this moment anyway, right this moment? At 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Oof. You're all in the shadows tonight. Anybody using Vocoflex yet or interested in it? I'm not a sponsor. I mean, they're not a sponsor. This video is not sponsored. I had to get it the old-fashioned way, just like everybody else. Do I think Apple will release their own version in an update? I don't think so. Apple's kind of going at glacial pace right now. And I don't think that they're interested in this particular niche of thing. Because I don't know. I don't know where Apple's going. I need to make a video. Apple, I had reached out to them like years ago at this point, but I just got an invite to be on the beta test for Logic. And there's a part of me that wanted to say yes so bad, because then I would see behind the curtain at what they're working on all the time. But the agreement you have to make when you become a beta tester is to never, ever admit that you're beta testing and talk about it. And so I said I couldn't do that. If I was a beta tester for Logic, I'd be like kicked off the beta team instantly for blabbing my mouth. I don't think I'm capable of keeping Logic Pro secrets. So, but I don't think they're working on that particular functionality, if anything. And here's what will make viewers both angry and happy, right? Apple tends not to innovate very much. I don't know if you know this. They're not true innovators in the sense of Logic. Logic is not a program that they made. They bought it. Alchemy is not a plugin that they made. They bought it. All the sampling functionality, most of their cool stuff came from a company called Redmatica out of Italy like 10 years ago. They bought them, closed them down, and incorporated their stuff. It's like all of the stuff in Logic there's somebody who's making decisions about what gets purchased. And bless their heart, most of the time I agree with what they do. And I think that they're doing cool things by buying things. So what does that do? A, it integrates it into Logic and makes it cool for Logic users. But B, anybody else who's not a Logic user loses access to it. And so it becomes a Logic only thing. And so other people who use like other workstations get angry about it. And so good and bad, right? Good and bad. Good in the sense that we will probably get some new features in another version, halfway to, well, like 11.1 or 11.2 or 11.3. We're bound to get some stuff in Logic that Apple bought from other companies. And Dreamtonics, if Dreamtonics disappears one day, then we'll know that somebody like Apple bought them and they'll show up in another version. And what we're missing with Dreamtonics and Synthesizer V and Vocoflex is really tight integration into Logic. And so when you don't have tight integration, it's clunky a little bit. So for instance, Synthesizer V, when I open it up here, you have to like have your own transport, own timing, own settings, everything. And then if that were incorporated into Logic, then it would be a lot tighter and we could do it right here in the main window. And then for the question from Michael, what is Vocoflex? The first part of the video is all about that. It's a vocal transformer tool, which allows us to take any voice and make it sound like a different voice, including voice prints that you import, including ones that you create or the presets that they have here. It's really, so this wouldn't take much. If Apple were to buy something like Vocoflex, it would just be a plugin that they would use, right? Cool. But you might get tighter integration. They might find a way to make it fit just a little bit tighter so there's lower latency. Or they might find a way to put it as a part of the Apple Intelligence thing with the silicon chips and make that even lower latency, which is what we need. So great. Features like that, they'll only come to Logic if Apple buys somebody. They don't have a team enough, I don't think, of people innovating on the Logic Pro team to create something like that. I met the founder of Dreamtonics, the OG, on a Zoom call, I don't know, months ago now. And they're like genius level, you know what I mean? They see the world in a different way than the average human. And so I think I hope, they have Synthesizer V and now Vocoflex. What would they do next, right? That's my question, is what's next with this? Although the interface looks a lot like Logic, so maybe. Michael for Reels was, let's see, working with session players recently, importing stuff. Disappointed with an import feature. There's always going to be something with every workstation that we're disappointed with. JMO112 says, I've had a weird Logic bug for a few versions now that will randomly set all my fades to equal power and I get pops and clicks on all audio regions. That's so annoying. I haven't had that happen. But that sounds super annoying for sure. So right now we're waiting for Logic 11.0.2 or Logic 11.1. We'll see what happens with that. It's probably 11.0.2 and they're going to fix a bunch of bugs, but we're a couple months away from 11.0.1. And so we're kind of due for some sort of update the next couple weeks. That's going to fix some things. It may wait until the new OS 10 comes out, and then they'll do an upgrade to fix compatibility with the new operating systems. That's likely to happen, but Yeah. Again, the import thing, I haven't had any of those issues, but I have not imported too much from Logic to Logic. Let's see, importing stuff from another Logic song. Logic has a special import feature for Logic projects. Yeah. So you're talking about the feature that's up in here where, let's see, you go to like another project. Is this what you're talking about? And then you can choose what you're importing in. Yeah. So I haven't had that issue, but I haven't done any importing like that of late. I've done videos about that in previous versions of Logic. This is one of my favorite import features, but if you're saying it's crashing, that's unfortunate. That's one of those things that could get easily overlooked in an update by the update team, because if there are not enough people really using that functionality for it to get widespread attention. Because every time I talk to Logic users, I say, and they're like, how do I copy and paste things from project to project? I'm like, are you using the import inside your media, your browser? And they're like, what are you talking about? So I know for a fact that, well, I don't know for a fact. I don't know anything for a fact. I know, verbally that a lot of people have no idea that that's even there. So. And then JMO112 says, do you think they're going to double down on the dumbification instead of pro features? I mean, I got to tell you, the AI stuff, the session instruments, at first I thought it was kind of a dumbification when my first knee-jerk reaction, but it takes like some serious music chops to get those to work right. I don't think that they were dumbification at all. And in fact, the only time that those things are going to work well are in the hands of somebody who is a pro, understands musical theory, musical components, and the complexities of what those instruments can do. They're not easy. There's nothing dumb about them, I don't think. And so I would say, in many ways, yes, it was kind of like a media stunt to say they added AI into Logic, but most of those things are actually the opposite of dumbification. I think that they're actually relatively high level to get high level, good sounding things out of them. And there's nothing that a beginner is going to have an advantage over anybody else. Which feature are you talking about, Michael, for reals? Maybe I'll make a video on it. Copyright your idea right away, though. I love the chat has exploded, because what the heck are we even doing here on a live stream if you're not talking? Seriously. Oh, yeah, I've seen the analyze key thing. It only does the overall key signature, though. It doesn't do individual chords. That probably does deserve a video at some point, just to explain to people more about what it is. It's a look at what's coming next. So 11.1 for sure has to have MIDI, analyze MIDI for chords, so that I can play whatever I want on my keyboard and it will populate the chord track with what I'm playing. That's when you're going to see me using the session players 1,000% more. Right now, I don't have time to think about adding a chord track and populating it. That's too slow. If you look at Studio One with their chord track, my bad. You can take like a full audio song, dump it onto the chord track, and it will analyze the whole thing, create a chord track based on the chords of that song. I mean, that's so easy. They don't have any of the additional functionality that Logic does, though, with the session player. So it's like the two right now are on the opposite side of the line, and one's doing one better and the other one's doing the other better. That's cool, Michael. I'll actually check that out. That's good to know. I'm reading Shummer's comment. Yeah, cool. JMO112 says, do I like the new AI mastering? Yes. I think the new mastering assistant is really good in some situations. It's still not true AI in terms of artificial intelligence. It's still the Apple intelligence, which means it does a task in a certain way. And if you have an input that's close, it will give you an output that's better, but it's not smart enough to know that if a song already sounds good, that it shouldn't touch it. It never has the output of, no thanks, you're already perfect. It doesn't say that, so it's not intelligent. Michael, I'm interested about that. I'll check that out. It's great for getting your songs ready for streaming. Yeah, I knew you were switching topics there, Michael, to the mastering assistant instead of the other. And then JMO12 says, I would love it if we could use any EQ plugin to see the EQ shape in the mixer like it does using channel EQ. Yeah, wouldn't that be a dream? Or the gain reduction for compression as well. There's a lot of like small tweaks that I think would make it better, but it's like anytime there's a visual request, I take it as a grain of salt because we live in an audio world, and the more visual we make it, the worse we're actually listening. So I think there should be a button where I can just turn all the visuals off and just listen. Ugh. I mean, close my eyes, right? Eyelids engage, and all of a sudden you have to listen. Oof. Well, you're not too chatty, Michael. I think it's interesting, and that's the point of this stuff. We need more live streaming in Logic because I think just like venting and talking about the stuff, that's one of the reasons, the other reason why I didn't agree to be a Logic beta tester is because then I couldn't complain about Logic in the same way. I couldn't make videos that were guessing at what's next. And I couldn't be disappointed before everybody else is disappointed. I want to be disappointed on release day like all the rest of you. Oh, I'm only half joking and also partially serious. Well, if for any of you who are watching and you want to actually learn about Vocoflex, the first part of the video was about Vocoflex and we talked about it. I think it's a great tool. I went out and got it because I love having that kind of control over vocals, but they're still, like any good instrument, there's going to be some time to master it. I've been using it longer than most because I was one of the early beta testers for it. So, I have a sense for what I like and what I don't like. But it's still a process. And then Michael says, I do performance streaming. Performing in the video totally clouds my perception of my performance if I look at a replay. I never watch my replays of streams. I do song nights. I've done 40 song nights where I just write songs. And I've learned that I write certain kinds of songs regularly. I'm going to be actually working this next month on doing some, going back to some of my film scoring days. I've scored a number of commercials and movies over the years. I think it's time to do some more of that type of stuff on the song night. Because I find myself kind of like wanting to write the same 5 songs, which is normal. Listen to bands like U2 or the Rolling Stones or whatever. It's like you can recognize them instantly. They play a song, you know who they are. They have the same 5 songs. That's not unusual, but I want to expand a little bit more. And then JMO112 says, next update should have a virtual vintage console mode. No fancy stuff, just an interactive vintage console. I would love that actually. Although, I don't know how that would actually work. Reason has a vintage console style setup, and it's fine, but I find it too much on one screen. And this is like in many ways, like a vintage console. The whole mixer here, it's pretty retro if you think about the faders and the panners and everything organized this way. In some ways, I would love for them to reinvent the mixer. I'm waiting for the workstation that actually reinvents it. That would be cool. Let's get someone to reinvent the dang thing. Okay, I think it's a good time to pull the plug on this one. We've been gone an hour, and that's more than I was thinking I was going to go. So thanks for watching. More videos coming up soon. It's going to be awesome. Talk to you later.